evening. This is, I believe, October 20th. This is the Legislative Committee. All members are present, but if you'd like to say yay. Councilmember Shannon McHugh.
Yay.
Councilmember Katie Lepari-Shu.
Hello. Yes. Here.
Which one are you going for?
All of the above.
Okay. And do you need any corrections, additions, subtractions to the last month's meeting?
No.
Sorry. Okay, hearing none. We actually have 3 people in the gallery. Is there anybody that would like to speak? 2 are shaking no, 1 is no. All 3 are no. Okay. Carrie, do we have any correspondence?
No.
No? This is a pretty exciting evening.
Well, I'm gonna make it more exciting.
Okay.
I would like to. I don't know how you feel about this, but
Hey, Mike.
as the person who put rent stabilization on the agenda,
Sure.
unless there's more that you all would like to do with that at this point, I'd like to table it for now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Um,
Move right in.
But I think there's other opportunities though still to address our housing.
Mm-hmm.
I spent some time with code enforcement today to talk about what I would consider blighted properties on Chestnut Street. And what is it that we can do to start kind of kicking that up a little bit? It seems like financial organizations hide behind at least a third-party face that's very non-cooperative in the process of trying to find out why are they holding on to it? Why aren't you getting it up? One of the properties on Chestnut Street that I spoke of is, I actually had a relative that owned the property and they walked away from it, I think approximately 4 years ago. And so the bank took it over and now it's rotting away. It must be filled with mold and mildew because the roof, the shingles have come off. The tarp system that the bank put on top a year and a half ago is gone. It's blowing into, the streets. People are picking it up. Yeah, and so, and across the street, there's another one that's similar to that. So I get your point. I want to have single families moving in, more year-round families moving in to our neighborhood. So it's not a dead issue for me. I understand where you're going with it, but I think maybe there's some other processes that we can make happen. Like I said, I talked with codes a little bit today, so it might be something that we have to work more with the Board of Public Service.
The hotel over there, whatever that's called, across from Speedway, does he relinquish property? Like, does he still own it? Who owns it?
Yeah, it's still under the same ownership, but
Okay.
I don't know on a code's position of whether it's compliant or not, but.
Because it's not running.
Right, there's nobody living in there anymore.
Right,
Sort of like the Oneonta Hotel.
right. But it could, yeah. Because there was some, as far as I remember, there was some legal issues with him and the property or something. He got charged with doing some stuff out of the property, so.
Oh, okay.
Because it would be maybe a nice addition if we could get that from him for supporting the unhoused populations that are going to see winter here soon.
Right. Yeah, I thought there was something between the Masonic Temple, which is the brick building, owning that property at one time, but, or is there an issue with a right-of-way? I'm not quite sure, but.
I don't know. With the, I don't know that. Oh yeah, I don't know. I just think that would be a good opportunity. It's right on the bus line. They rehabbed it not that long ago. Would imagine it wouldn't be too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, of whatever.
I mean, I heard there was some conversation about maybe putting or upgrading it to the townhouse.
Houses, right?
So that would be nice. Good
That'd be
location, centrally located. Could we get some senior citizens in there? I don't know. Which would free up more, say, Center City, large Victorian homes. Housing Commission is kind of exciting right now. Is that they're ready to present to the council. So this coming, I think tomorrow, they're going to present tomorrow for the parcel on West Broadway.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully that's a model that I'm sure we're going to have to tweak it several times. But if it's a model we can use for more parcels. So. All right, well, who wants to take over on the tobacco-free legislation?
I'll let Shannon. Got this going in the Community Wellness Committee.
Right.
And since then, that committee has done some work on it, and I will say, like, I read through everything for the changes, and generally it looks like it's been tightened up in terms of, like, more aligned with our process, like existing processes, existing language in the code. You know, I'm just thinking about, like, the local, designating the local agent thing. There's also the distance from schools and parks, which I think is in the state legislation, which is why I hadn't included it, but this might be like a closer proximity, or a farther away proximity, a more restrictive. I'm assuming that's why that was included. I didn't get a chance to look that up. Generally, I would say everything looked good. I did want to hear more personally about the section 10 cap. That's significantly changed, and so the thinking behind that, but
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
so-
3 versions of Stephen gave. So I just wanted to say that Elaine, who chairs, she did everything. So we owe her gratitude in that. And
Thank you, Elaine.
so
Thank you.
Yeah, Katie really got the process starting, and Jennifer Hill here, has been instrumental,
Huge help.
Yeah.
but
So can
we
we
have
go
to
back
pick
to
a
your-
version, basically. So Stephen gave us 3 versions, versions A, B, and C. We
Okay.
discussed at Community Wellness, and we felt that version B was more so in line with what we were wanting. Version C, would stand in the way of licenses being permitted throughout the year, different type of fee and fining schedule. B was more so what we were looking towards.
so we only got one draft, and I'm not sure which.
It is
I'm
B.
assuming it's B.
It's B.
So we did get the.
You
right
guys got B.
one. We got B, but
Yeah.
you want C?
I did not get, they said, should I give them, I said give them B.
This is the one that we want?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I put in the one that was recommended.
What
The one
wellness
that we
committee
reviewed had
decided.
3 versions in it, so I.
Okay, so this draft version that we have is the one that you want? Okay.
Correct.
If you want to see A and C, I have them.
Okay.
What?
So, but
So what
Katie,
was-
you talked about the distance from schools, and I had that up. It's section 3E,
Uh-huh.
number 1. So are you thinking 750 isn't enough, that you would want to push that out a little bit more?
No, so that hadn't been in the initial draft that I
Oh.
provided to the committee, and that's
Okay.
because it's already existing in state legislation.
Mhm.
And when I read through it, I just read through it today, my assumption was that this is a more restrictive distance than the state legislation, so that's why it's included here. Is
Okay.
that accurate? I didn't look up the
I
state
would have to
statute.
check what the state legislation was on that, but I do know that we felt it was important to have that included, because we actually had community members come to meetings and express a desire for something like that to be included.
Okay.
Specifically, we had help from Kano came and
Uh-huh.
talked to us about their experiences with the children's program.
Yeah, I don't know that, I actually, that was one thing that I thought of here, was that this says schools, sorry, let me pull it up. You said it's 3E then? So it's school or public park, but I don't know if in the definitions, the definition of school would be,
You mean like a school-based
Like, I don't-
program?
yeah, I don't know that Kano's art program would be covered by this definition,
So you want to say a place of education?
or
Educational programming?
educational programming, or something that caters to primarily children, like a location, or, so like Owl would, I mean, they're not in the city, but they would count, because they have no, maybe they would, because Kano probably has some sort of founding document, a
Right.
charter. I don't know. I think if that's the intent, because I was even thinking about Noah's World, right?
Right.
Which is in the
Mhm.
city and is primarily for children.
Right.
Mhm.
that, like, that wouldn't necessarily be covered by this school definition. And I don't know what, and that's where, like, maybe Dave Merzig is really helpful here, cause I don't know that we have I don't know if we can make it more,
Because then
broad.
wouldn't it be like daycare, like then you're really delving into like,
right,
then,
right, I mean, so school, I mean, we're really looking at like the school district facilities, but not necessarily places that are for children's programming.
Mhm.
So
So
maybe we wanna
shouldn't
get a
that be
little
a
bit
s-
more,
Can't there be a subsection or another definition?
well, I just think like knowing that that's the intent now, and I would absolutely support that intent, like that we might wanna kind of look into
elaborate.
elaborating, like how we elaborate to make sure that this meets the intention. Yeah. Cause the way I read this, right, like, public, private, or charter entity that provides kindergarten, elementary, middle, junior high, or high school, so that's like not Yaks, right, cause that's preschool, it's not Bugby.
Could you just say pre-kindergarten?
Well, that's what I mean, like, we could add those things, but then we have places like Kano, who does children's programming, or, and I mean, I think they have the right to, well, no, cause we're talking about sale. I was thinking like ban smoking on their grounds, like, I know that they've had a lot of trouble with that, I think they probably have the right to say no smoking on our property. But there's a smoke shop right across the parking lot, so if the intention is to space those things out from where kids congregate, which I would totally support, we have to figure out a way to define and then work in the definition of those types of places. Educational or recreational programming for children, like the boys club. You could make a case for,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a school.
No, but
So-
it's an area that children are supervised. Even Noah's World, the children
Right.
are supervised.
Right, so we just have to define it and then figure out a way to work in
Right,
it.
but then they would also have to figure out where all the childcares are.
Right.
And then, but what if childcare moves or shuts down or?
Well, that's a good question, which is like, do we have to address something where, cause we have the grandfathering of this legislation, but say like someone wanted to open a daycare in their home, they were within 750 feet. Do we run into an issue there? I'm asking Carrie, cause she's the one who probably will have to unknot that knot. But like, you know, I mean, they should be able to theoretically open we don't want this to prohibit people from being able to open daycares, but then the tobacco store is pre-existing, so they
have to maintain their licensure.
right. Right, so they just effectively become sort of grandfathered, even though they're not compliant. And then, yeah, as soon as their license lapses, it would no longer be an eligible location.
Something to kick around, going back to the children's program language, is there a threshold? So if they have
Right.
5 events a year, does that qualify them to be one of those not within 750 feet
Right,
versus?
it would have to be like a primary purpose.
But
Hmm.
then that might exclude camp.
Right.
So it's like, how do you gotta,
Okay.
And so Elaine, your committee, how'd you guys make out kind of defining those issues?
So I gotta say, I think that this goes beyond the scope of really what we, had discovered, or discussed. I think you guys are delving in at a slightly different angle than we did, looking at this. But it's, worthwhile looking into, and I also hear Carrie's concerns too there, or, the issues that Carrie's raising about, how do we get that definition? And I was kind of thinking the same thing, is there a threshold, like a certain number? And I'm not sure yet how to define that because it's just coming to my mind now. But perhaps that's, another level that we look into. And I don't know if you have any other experience with this, Jennifer.
honestly, I do not.
Okay.
This is the first time I've been involved with, a tobacco retailer policy being made by a local tri-county area. The state law requires tobacco retail advertising to be at least 1,500 feet away.
1,500?
Yeah, now, advertising.
Oh, advertising.
It doesn't necessarily mean the actual structure.
Okay.
But, you know, the big thing the law was trying to do was, you know, before a lot of kids would, you know, on their way to school see tobacco advertising, which, you know, was sort of put there so they would notice and, you know, for the whole, like, exposing youth to, tobacco products.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's,
Mike, you had something you wanted to
Yeah, I was gonna say the 1,500-foot rule for sales, for advertising, but also let you know that in New York, any childcare program planning to serve 3 or more children for more than 3 hours a day needs to be licensed.
Right.
So that would be one threshold that you could potentially use as
Okay.
a licensed
A
childcare.
licensed childcare.
Okay, so we could say like school or licensed childcare. Because they, I mean theoretically, Kano provides summer programming,
Yes.
so they have a license, right?
No,
Okay.
not in the same way. There are different types of programming that they're offering.
Okay.
Licensed childcare, so Kano gets, like, or not Kano, but other programs get away with it because it's under a certain amount of kids per day. It's also, like, probably a certain kind of, like, educational programming.
Gotcha.
They have a certain adults to child ratio, whereas home daycare, like childcare settings, it's, you have them more than a certain amount of hours every day, and they are related or non-related, like, that matters.
Oh, right.
So, if they're only doing it for 2 hours, that's under the threshold of like having too many for too long, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So,
Okay.
but, yeah,
well, and this
the
is all.
license providers, I'm sorry, are all online, so it's like stuff
Oh.
that
Right.
can be checked.
Well, I'm also wondering, cause like, even though the primary purpose of Kano as a whole is not education or recreation for kids under 18, the art studio, theoretically, you could say that about. I mean, they do adult classes, but the majority of their programming is for kids and
Yeah.
teens. So, that may be a way that they could identify as that type of programming.
Say that again?
Well, the art studio, so
The
Keno,
art studio, okay.
yeah, but like the
Okay.
art studio does classes and it's primarily for kids and
Right.
teens. I mean, they, every once in a while, they have like an adult pottery class or watercolors with Emily Falco, but like, generally, it's like kids programming, so
Okay.
they could, I mean, they could make a case, I think, that its primary function is education or recreation for kids under 18. Which is the wording I have drafted here.
Right.
Well, you were quoting the state law on
Mm-mm.
licensing of childcare.
Oh, Shannon,
Me.
yeah, she has
Yeah.
knowledge on that.
What about it?
Were you quoting the state law? when you were
Yes,
talking
so
about-
it's,
okay.
yes, it, Catholic Charities is who handles all the licensing for, the city of, well, for our county. And so anybody with 3 or more children unrelated would get, hopefully be licensed.
Right.
There are 11 licensed daycare facilities in the city of London. Looks like about half of them are in-home
Okay.
daycares.
And I'm assuming that Oneonta could develop its own licensing policy for childcare and places where, you know, like the art studio, in addition to the state law.
You mean in our tobacco licensing legislation, that, because we always have to be more restrictive.
Or maybe separately, I don't know.
Okay.
But I realize that is a whole nother.
In what way? Can you elaborate what you're saying?
Well, I mean, with tobacco retail policy you all are thinking about doing, you know, there are state laws, but localities obviously can make their own licensing laws like you're looking into, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming that would be the case with the licensing of childcare as well.
Yeah, it's already super intense and restrictive.
Yeah, it's something like 57 or 59 pages that you have to follow by your
Yeah.
state.
It's really crazy, and it's really difficult to maintain,
Yeah.
and,
God bless anybody that wants to do that, because that's a lot of rules.
but anyway, so.
Yeah,
So-
so if that's the intention, then I think we need to workshop that a little bit. We don't have to do it right now. But to me, this does not read as a definition that would cover places like Kano or Noah's World.
Right. Another part that I would like to raise is that I don't know if the definition of vapor product has actually gone far enough. There's a
Okay.
lot of synthetic materials that are added. I actually was just listening to something today that they can't keep up with the technology on the different products. So the mad scientists are literally, as soon as the government says no to this product,
Scientists.
I know.
they come up with another one in that chain, and they're back at it again. And so, and how do you stop that? I would like to address that. So I see
Yeah,
some
we
heads
talked
nodding.
a lot about that actually, because another, person that we had involved in this process is Andrew Patoli, who works for, was it a teen prevention program through New York State Department of Health. And so he had brought us information about, or did you send that? I can't remember now. Either way, we got the information
Yes, yeah.
about the, synthetic products, and it's a very complicated issue. And the wording of the definitions and everything is supposed to try to do its best to encompass all of that, because it is, like you said, an evolving issue.
Correct. So has somebody already created that wheel, Elaine? So we're not here trying to kind of wordsmith that out? I mean,
I could ask, the statewide chapter organizations that cover the other counties like mine does, to see if they know of specific.
But I
licensing
thought that
law.
Andrew had said during the meeting that they were looking at tobacco, not marijuana.
Oh, right, but there are synthetics too, and
the
that's,
vapor products are the
that's what
synthetic
all
stuff.
this other, the other language is supposed to cover, but there's acknowledgement that, that it continues to need to
Keeps
catch up with
changing.
the,
Correct.
current environment, and I'm just checking my notes on this again too. But yeah, that was definitely something we discussed.
So Andrew, is part of what is called a TUPA, which has to do with, basically ensuring that tobacco retailers are going by the law. They're not selling tobacco products to people under, age 21.
Mhm.
But it gets really tricky with, synthetic nicotine products, especially like pouches and things like that. And, so when he's working on that, they can't go into a tobacco retailer and really do very much if someone is selling like nicotine pouches, or I think with vapes it might be easier, but
Mhm.
it gets really tricky.
Well, the subject matter that I was listening to was talking about hemp, and that it's advertising it as hemp, but it's actually marijuana because they're changing the chemical compound within inside that product. And so they're illegally selling marijuana, which I don't think that's something that we wanted in and around, the children area. So I'm just trying to have some language in there, whether it's dealing with the tobacco or tobacco-related product, or to vapor products and the synthetic drugs that go along those lines, that there's enough wording in here. I just don't know if there's enough to cover that.
It does say or other substances.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I have a bunch of notes about how we talked at length about this. We, talked about tobacco versus nicotine, and really the discussion of how the language is very difficult to capture all of those, potentials that could be out there. So that's where it seemed like the other, you know, including all other substances, or, yeah, the other substances wording seemed to be, to our knowledge now, the most encompassing for that.
Okay.
Yeah, in my capacity and Andrew's, like, you would have to, if you wanted to get more knowledge and understanding about the marijuana aspect, you have to go through Office of Cannabis Management. Like, we don't
Okay.
do anything on that.
Shannon, what do you think? Is that enough words, enough verbiage to cover what we're trying to get accomplished?
I think the other was because we were went round and round about like what to add or like what to keep in, like basically, I mean, what I got from Andrew was that there is their own rules and regulations for cannabis, and that they've already got like especially at the dispensaries and stuff, and so like that is a different playing field than this one, and like focusing on this one.
That makes
Right, but we know that having our own dispensary, that the owner of that was upset that there was illegal shops setting up, selling marijuana products. The one somebody mentioned tonight across from the YMCA, I mean, they were closed down because they were selling that kind of stuff. And so the other ones were closed down also for selling somewhat
Right.
marijuana products illegally, so.
Right.
So you're
No, that
feeling
makes
like you would like the verbiage to include.
I just wanna make sure the verbiage covers those products, cause there's also the synthetic products. It's
Even
not-
because I think this was, I think initially put to be like strictly like a nicotine tobacco.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay.
if you're feeling like,
The
like,
synthetics.
well, I don't see why it would hurt to include it.
Right, and then I would like the police chief to review this, because if they're gonna enforce it, or code enforcement's gonna enforce it, I would like their thoughts on it before we pass this up to council.
Right.
Sure.
I
I
don't,
don't
we
think
can
we're there.
add to the other, I don't see why not. I just, like Andrew was saying, it's like, there's another whole playing field that this doesn't even touch.
Right.
It has its own rules, so,
Right.
but I don't see why that would hurt.
I mean, I'm gonna channel Dave Merzig right now. Sometimes the more specific you are, the less effective you are. So
Correct.
for it to say, or other substances that produces vapor or aerosol for inhalation, to me, that sounds like
Covers it.
anything
Right.
that produces vapor
And then
or
if something new
aerosol for
comes out
inhalation. Right.
that we don't have on there, it's still covered, cause it still is through those means.
Right. It's more about like the method of delivery, I think, to me.
Karen?
You could modify the definition to have it mean any non-combustible liquid or gel containing nicotine, synthetic drug, or any other substance that produces vapor or aerosol. And that
Okay.
gets your synthetic drugs in there as a specific, like,
Mhm.
hey, pay attention to this.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
And just so you know about a bit of the data behind it, like people who, vape non-nicotine, non-cannabis, like, you know, presumably sort of innocent herbs or whatever, they are more likely to take up vaping, tobacco and nicotine than if they don't do that.
Okay. Okay, so we're good there. Still have to work on
So
school.
under school, do we wanna put, licensed childcare before kindergarten or somewhere's in there?
So this, I wrote, or any entity that's primary purpose is education or recreation for children under 18.
Recreation or care of children under,
Care of, yeah.
cause if it's like a church school, like,
Correct.
yeah,
Right.
I think, or care of children under age 18.
Education, well then, is that like, or is that houses? Like my primary purpose is caring for a child under 18.
Hired?
I think childcare should be its own definition.
Childcare
and
should
then
be
add a
its
new
own thing.
subsection. And then
Okay.
under childcare, you could add your licensed entities, and then you could also reference however you finesse the whole child programming thing.
Okay.
And it'll make it cleaner.
That makes sense, cause it's not a school. Okay,
So we'll make childcare a subsection of school.
sounds good.
So it'll be included, the word childcare in school, but have its own definition.
so then will we have to go, when we go back through, will we have to say anywhere it says school, it will also have to say childcare location?
Schools, childcare facilities, and/or parks,
Okay,
something like that.
okay. Okay,
How do we wanna finish this?
checking things
Do you
out.
wanna have the definition and goes to Carrie, or do we?
Sure, yeah,
Well, you, looks like you have something there.
I did, yeah,
Right, so,
okay. We can workshop it. I'll send you a rough idea of what I'm thinking.
And when you guys are working on it, I don't know, it'd be great to see a map where these things are and
Yeah,
with their bubbles around them, just because I don't,
it's like the
My-
750 foot radius
right, I just don't, in my head, I don't have a sense of what that
would look like.
actually looks like.
We could actually, instead of making a GIS person work that much, they could actually just, every one of those locations that sell tobacco products, we probably should have a map that shows us where they're sold in a 750 foot radius around that.
yeah.
And,
Did you wanna
Right.
see?
oh no,
And-
which is it?
So the thing to note is it's not radius. It's from property line, closest
Oh, that's right.
property line to closest property line. So your proximity, like your radius, isn't going to cover the true, you would need to measure 750 from each,
Property line,
yeah.
which is not like a center, single point.
So it's a bubble,
Yeah.
circle.
Right.
Not cool.
No, not cool.
But having that kind of thing
But
would
that
make
also
this
kind-
much easier
Yeah,
to-
and it kind of mimics OCMs, the way they drafted their language for marijuana licensure, so.
Okay.
Did you want to see version A and C, or are you good with what we
I'm
have?
confused on this enough.
Okay.
Sorry.
See then?
Sure. Is
Sure.
it, oh, okay, this is the cap thing, okay.
Jennifer, you had
I
something?
do wanna see this.
Oh, just, if you want my coworker and I to work on the map, we can.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I mean, we've normally just done it in Google Maps where you
Yeah.
you can actually plug in like tobacco retailers and it'll
Uh-huh.
populate the map. But I don't know about the radius versus, property line
Uh-huh.
to property line.
At this level, it seems like a ballpark idea. We're not talking about
Yeah.
enforcement here, we're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah, just
Getting a sense.
visualization.
Just getting an
Right.
idea.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So I guess if that's something that you and Carrie work on, send it to the rest of us, and then we can send it over to the code enforcement office and the police chief and see what they get their inputs before we'll bring it back for next month.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Yes, but I would like to talk about the cap,
Cat?
the cap, section 10.
Yeah.
That was like the main thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so that's like significantly different from what I had proposed, and so I'm wondering how you guys got there. I'm sure there was a lot of thought and conversation that went into that, and I just would like to also understand.
Yeah, that actually came back as a recommendation from the code office to be more consistent with how, processes go. I can check notes on more specifics, but basically also what I remember is that, the way that the wording was, in the original draft, there was no, process allowed in that for any new kind of movement. And so that just opened up,
What do you mean new movement?
like if he mentioned, for instance, that gas stations will change.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah,
That made sense.
So there are things like that that we hadn't taken into consideration, and
Yep.
so that's why he gave, 3 different recommendations.
Yep.
With varying levels of, counsel or prescribed, steps in it.
Mhm. So the gas station thing makes sense, for sure. One of the things that we were sort of trying to do when we had initially started talking about this was kind of understanding how the cap might fluctuate over time. And so this, when I'm reading this, the, number 2, C2 here, beginning 1 year from the effective date of this chapter, new licenses may be issued at a rate of 1 for every 2 that have been revoked. So that's sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back is how we're approaching that.
Yeah, yep.
And what was the thinking there?
So the recommendation there was that was still allowed for development of new businesses as old businesses closed, but not at the same
Uh-huh.
rate. We'd still be reducing, but not completely restricting the potential of new growth.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, that was fully my intent, was to restrict it, was basically to say, we have this many, we don't really want them, for the health of our community. That's what our whereas section is all about. So to have it be have that be the maximum number, and then have that be through attrition. So I'd be interested more, because generally, for me, that's not the way that I would want to see development happen in our community. And so I'm
Right.
interested in the thinking behind allowing additional businesses to develop in that way, if the goal is to
Reduce
or
the
eliminate
amount
them.
of tobacco shops and vape shops that we have in our community.
Right.
I thought that's what ultimately we were trying to go for, is a cap, which meant no more. Right?
Yeah, so I think what I'm not explaining is that it maintains that cap, okay? But what the old legislation didn't allow was for any new applications to happen within that cap.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so where it's not restricted then, it allows for new applications.
Right. I'm
Hmm.
still not understanding why, like, if the,
So you're saying you want
Purposes.
to, like, eliminate those shops fully?
I mean, that's the goal of the legislation, would be that we wouldn't allow tobacco sales within the community after a period of.
How many do we have?
That,
Oh,
it's like 11 or something,
We have 11?
as far as.
Oh, I might be counting the town too. I had maps at one point, but I don't have them with me. Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, like, they are not all gonna lapse or close within a year or even a year of each other, you know? So this is about moving our community
Right.
in
this
the
is
future.
Not only the
as
number, but the
close.
location of them was the ultimate goal of where we were trying to go,
Right.
right? Isn't that what
That's-
we,
yeah, that
we
was
talked
mine.
about this
That
last
was
year,
my goal.
was how many do we have and where are they located?
Right. And can we reduce that number?
Right.
Which over time, I mean, the goal would be to not have them. That's my goal, anyway. I'll own that.
I think I missed the last part. I thought we were looking at reduction, not shutting down an industry.
Well, we aren't shutting it down. It would be shutting itself down, but over a period of like decades.
Yeah, so how does it work for a license? If I got a license to sell these products, is that transferable? So if I buy, somebody buys my business and I had that license, is that license transferable?
So that's one of the things that they added, and I think, is it only in the case of gas stations?
I believe
Yes.
it was, because of the specificity of how gas station transfers happen.
Yeah, they're the only ones allowed.
And Katie, I'm with you on this, on that a business that's opening up purely to sell these products comparatively to a fuel station or convenience store is different. And that, I think having 11 of them is enough for a small community. I didn't realize it was that many.
I may be wrong about that number.
Google Maps shows 5, but I don't know. if
Yeah.
it's-
Okay.
Maybe I included the town, so 5.
Okay. 5, that's all their business is.
That's all their business owns?
Correct. No, that's all the business sells. The products is all they sell are tobacco or non-tobacco
Yeah.
products. They don't sell any other products.
Michael gave the number.
I'm trying to think.
I'm thinking off of Main Street, wow, 1, 2, one got shut down because they were selling illegal marijuana. I saw the sign.
Mhm.
the other day, I stopped in for a cup of coffee and they're selling, they got busted for selling illegal by the hospital. One, and then the one down the street, two. And then, don't we have it right in downtown, aren't they selling products? That's
We got it.
right on Main
We
Street.
have, according to Google Maps, which is probably not fully accurate, but Area 51 Smoke Shop on Ford,
Yeah, that's
Smoker's Choice on Chestnut. Second Smoker's Choice, that one's actually in the town, on South Side.
Well, Smoker's Choice on Chestnut Street is closed.
Okay. One smoke shop on Main Street, and Royalty Tobacco on, also on Main.
Royalty.
So there's 4.
And Easy Food Marts.
Right, that's what I'm getting at, is those are businesses that are selling convenience stores except minus the fuel. But we have 1, 2, 3, right on Main Street, I'm thinking 3 right now, on Main Street alone. Then you can turn the corner, well, no, actually Speedway, that's 4.
Are you thinking like United Food Market and Easy Food Mart?
Yeah, Easy right here, and then across from the hospitals, that's 2. You get Speedway, there's 3. The grocery store, whatever it is, they're selling those products plus paraphernalia inside of it.
United Food Market.
That's 4. Hook the corner. I'm not positive on Red Apple.
Yeah, they do. Red Apple.
Okay, so there's 5.
And Easy
Red
Food Mart
Apple
is
and
where
Apple, yes.
Then just go across the street, kitty corner from Red Apple, and we're into this
Dollar General.
Dollar General and the smoke shop right there too.
Yeah.
So that's what, 7, 8 blocks. And we got 7 of them right there, so I don't think your number's off. I think this is probably 11. So
Yeah. They may not be like just that.
tobacco,
Right.
tobacco products, correct. But they're selling them. So
Yeah, I mean, I went with the most restrictive method of attrition. For me, that seemed like the intent of the legislation. It was the intent of my proposing the legislation is not to allow new businesses to crop up in our community, even though, you know, we have the cap. The idea is that we would not encourage people to open new businesses with the intention of selling tobacco.
right.
So that's, you know, I'm willing to continue to discuss that and come to a place where we're all comfortable, but that's my intention of this, like tobacco kills people. And the more normalized it is, the more likely kids are going
Mhm.
to do it, so.
So could we just increase that from 2 to 5?
Sure. Okay, let me write down.
Shannon, what do you think?
Which one?
Maybe
This one.
C2?
Instead of every 2, have it be every 5. I mean, I still think we're talking about decades before we're even in single digits within the city limits.
I think it's fine. You do 5.
No, I appreciate you sharing those with me. And I do still wanna read them.
So who's doing the map? I lost track.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, you're doing the map?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
So you're gonna send it up to us? You'll send it to
Yeah.
this committee?
That would be
Okay.
great. And
Actually,
thanks
just
for-
send it to the clerk and she can send it on to us. Is that all right, Karen?
I know
Maybe
it's,
just do
I know
everything
it's kind of your thing, Jennifer, but thank you for all your help and guidance and things like this where, you know, you're willing to sort of take on the additional stuff to help get this
Oh.
rolling. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I just really wanna compliment the whole council on your thoughtfulness, you know, your research, your, you know, discussing the pros and cons of everything.
So one thing that we had talked about initially when we were discussing this type of legislation is that it's often best received in conjunction with like some sort of, like, it's smoking, not smokers, right? So like, some sort of like cessation support, or like something that, you know, offers support to people who do have a nicotine addiction and do purchase these products, that they're not being, you know, unfairly targeted in some way. So I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on what we might wanna do in partnership with advancing this legislation.
Well, I mean, it definitely should never be about punishing, like, the user.
Right.
I'm really not supposed to advise you
Oh.
on what to do.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
well, I can make sort of recommendations, but, yeah, the big recommendation is not to ever punish, like, the user. It's, you know, the selling and manufacturing of it.
Right.
Um,
I feel like that's done effectively in this legislation. I think there's, you know, there's nothing that would penalize anyone from purchasing from someone who is selling illegally or anything like that, so that's good.
I mean, as far as, I honestly don't know what the laws exactly are around this, but I mean, the New York State Quit Line offers lots of great services to quit. You know, I don't know if local governments are allowed to, I mean, probably they can, but, you know, if they're allowed to sort of mandate, like, information on, let's say, the New York State Quit Line or other
Oh.
cessation services.
Interesting.
I know I once asked, you know, the people who know a lot more about this than I do, you know, why weren't there billboards, as I would see in Shreveport, Louisiana, where I used to live, about, you know, if you had a billboard advertising a casino, you know, there's a gambling addiction
Yes.
number. Apparently, I don't know, apparently, like, that's not allowed.
Oh,
I think the tobacco industry fought that kind of thing, and
okay.
I don't know exactly what the law is around it, but, and it might be federal, for all I know. But, you know,
And that's current today?
yeah,
Not for gambling. I mean, they have that, like, if you go to even if you go to a casino, like, inside.
right,
The
yes, for
casinos, there's
gambling,
like-
Plastic
not-
everywhere,
Yeah.
cause I literally just went to,
Yeah.
no, I don't do
Yeah.
that. The conference that I went to was there, so
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
but not,
Yeah.
like, you're right,
Gambling
not for
addiction.
tobacco.
There's posters and.
Conference.
And it's interesting because they do have, I mean, they are required to post the Surgeon General's warning,
This is true.
but not like, any sort of like cessation. So I wonder if that's allowed.
I'm thinking about this, cause I'm thinking it's there, but I'm just gonna double check.
I don't know. I don't know.
So why-
Interesting.
While you're thinking of that, can we talk about B1? Council review of CAP, the county council shall, kind of by resolution, adopt annually? Do we really need to go down that path, that every year we have to adopt a resolution? Can we just say, adopt by resolution? If we need to change something, we can go through the process of legislation and make an amendment to it. That would be one more thing for our city staff to have to do annually, to present a resolution.
Maintain or reduce. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so that's even sort of more interesting because we have this sort of natural progression to reduce the licenses over time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we probably don't need to do it annually, right? Cause then we could literally just next year be like, nah, cap's one. Like, what? You know,
Right.
I mean, so, yeah, I think you could do that anyway, so it probably doesn't need to be
Correct. It
an
doesn't-
annual.
Right, well, number one doesn't actually need to be
Prescription.
there at all, because
Right.
we have the ability to have anybody come before the legislation committee and petition them for this idea,
Right.
so, and then go through the process, but
On the initial.
this is just gonna put extra work on our city staff, and then to your point, it could actually change within a year, so.
Yeah,
That would be like making a resolution for codes or anybody else that you'd have to do it annually.
yeah. Although it does say, The next one says that the schedule shall not cause the number of licenses to drop below the number of licenses active, but then wouldn't that be the cap anyway? No, it wouldn't
No,
in this scenario.
Because you gotta finish it off,
you
except
could
through
always-
natural attrition.
Cause you could always add one.
Right. I would be in favor of dropping one altogether, so that we didn't have
Yeah,
additional work.
yeah, kind of one and two, like, I'm just not sure. Active at the time of such resolution, but like, if the cap is basically so we're saying 11 is the cap. And the cap will stay the cap until, the cap will stay 11, I'm basing this off of this hypothetical 11, right?
Right,
So we're saying 11 is the cap, and 11 will stay the cap.
but through natural attrition.
No, not even,
Number 2 says that,
no.
right? So when
We
the
would have
business
to-
owner goes out of business,
Uh-huh.
that number drops.
No, it doesn't. Only if we drop it. That's what number 1 is there for. So, beginning 1 year from the effective date, new license may be issued. So 2 would have to drop, and then 1 could come in. But then it doesn't change the cap, which is still 11 unless we change it. So how does that work?
So you could modify number 1, because you're speaking about the licensing cap in 2 and 3, so you can't completely wipe it out. But
Okay.
you can modify 1 to read that the council shall by resolution establish a license cap. And then maybe add something in there which, shall be reviewed from time to time as requested by the legislative committee or,
David has that language already.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So just you guys, I'm trying to export this, but I found from New York State that there are 51 entities that are licensed to sell tobacco in 13820 zip code.
In zip code.
So I don't
In
know how
our
to.
entire zip
I
code.
Yeah.
know, but that's wild.
Because it's by address, I don't know how to limit it to the city
Yeah.
only, but,
Well-
I'll export this data and send it to you.
Can you go back through our community wellness stuff? Because I just can't, because I don't have my computer, but Jennifer sent us a map, a list with a map. Do you remember? Last year, maybe?
I can't remember.
I know I
But if you
have a
search your
paper
email
copy at
address,
home,
maybe
but I
it'll
couldn't
come up.
find it.
Because I know I have it, like,
Yeah.
in my stuff
too.
at home.
It's sitting
so-
there.
We
I
did
searched
have
my
a map.
email, so
Yes.
I've been looking too here.
And it's not current, because it's from last year, but it's
No,
at
but it's
least
still a very
better
helpful guide,
place to
because
start.
your number of 11 is approximate, but it sounds approximately right, you know?
Yeah.
And that's as
Right.
close as we can get right now, but I also went back through my messages, I couldn't find the attachment.
Oh.
Actually, you know what, I wonder, I'm gonna just
I
check
just
it
don't
out.
have my computer, or I would totally do it, but
And also the
Yeah, I've been
document,
looking for it.
I
and
think I have all
on
that
my
stuff.
laptop, so.
It was
Okay.
November 20.
It was the community wellness committee at the time that was
Might
sent
have
to.
been even 2 years ago. I'm not.
Time flies.
Or maybe
No, it's
like
okay.
2 months.
I don't know if
It
I'm
was
electronic.
discussed with December 11. Community
Okay.
wellness, at the time, there were 26 with the 13820 zip code.
Yeah, so that was in the town as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Creating
even
a GIS
even
map would be
beyond.
helpful with regard to distance from schools and hospitals, create an overlay and then exclusionary afterwards.
Mhm.
And there was supposed to be a comprehensive list of addresses to come up with the GIS list of businesses.
Okay.
1,000 from Child Focus, 500 from others, state laws 1,500.
You're the best.
Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sending this, just send this to all council, I'll just send it to you, I'll send it to you three,
Okay.
before.
Yeah,
50.
that's a lot.
Carrie, let's kind of talk that one back. Where are we at with section 10B1?
10B1 will turn into, with your permission, common council shall by resolution establish a license cap. That sets the cap. And then you would use the resolution to set your number at 11. And then some sort of language that says, which can from time to time be reviewed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And you were gonna say by the legislative committee, but I'm also wondering if we could add the Board of Public Service.
I almost wonder about not putting the legislative committee on there, just
Oh,
because
because-
council committees can come and go,
Right.
so I don't know how you wanna,
We could just say from time to time. I mean, that's how we do things around here, from time to time.
Anything else to add?
Not today, not on this.
Okay.
I do have one thing that I'd like to walk on briefly, if
Sure.
it's possible. So at the September 15th meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission, they reviewed the bench and plaque donation policy that had been presented to council committee.
Mm-hmm.
And they had some thoughts on that I just wanted to bring.
This is
Where are they?
bench and plaques?
Bench and plaque donation policy, so we just approved that, but as you know, we can just sort of
Mm-hmm.
take into suggestion. If we decide to move on it, we can reapprove it, but, and this may be the type of thing, Greg, that I know sometimes, like, some of these seem like maybe they're policy things and they don't need to be written into the legislation, but what is a policy?
Something like accepting donations will have to be done with council approval, so in this case, we're just establishing kind of a blanket acceptance of donations in certain amounts that are, defined what they are and what they're for,
Okay.
as opposed to having to take each one through council.
Okay, no, that
So
makes total
it makes
sense.
sense to be the policy adopted by the council as opposed to
Okay.
staff.
Okay, that makes total sense. Okay, so number 7 on the bench and plaque donation policy says, after 10 years, the donated element will be available for renewal for the cost of a new donation with the first right of refusal given to the original donor. If the original donor opts not to renew, the donated element and plaque may be removed or rededicated at any time. The Parks and Rec Commission suggested that the donor would have the option to request the plaque from the city at that time.
Oh, so when they remove it to,
Mhm.
Yeah, to just keep it.
I guess I was assumed that they would get it. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And then, let's see, that's just changed this something for our information. And then,
Right, so any cost sending that plaque to them would be on the family?
yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I'm thinking is like, is there some sort of cost purchase requirement? Cause they did the bench and plaque donation, but then, do we have to sell it to them for $1 or whatever? Because it's technically, they've donated it to the city, and so in order to give it back to them, do we have to sell it to them for $1?
Declare surplus, and then technically, we have to review whether someone, because it's been donated, it becomes city property.
Oh,
It's
okay.
no longer theirs, it would, it's not like we're the museum holding onto it.
Right.
So maybe there's a way to say that they can have it back, like you're describing, we have to check on that.
Okay,
Normally, it would just be, it's going to be on public services.
right, okay. Okay, and then the
Good
second
point.
consideration was around the wording of number 12, which says, the donor has no obligation or right to maintain or tamper with the bench. Their suggestion was to separate that into 2 sentences, so the donor has no obligation to maintain or right to tamper with the bench, so that it's more clear.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It says the donor has no obligation or right to maintain or tamper with the bench, plaque, or surrounding area. And their suggestion was to separate that so that it says no obligation to maintain or right to tamper with the bench, plaque, or surrounding area, so that it's more clear. It's just a
Did they
language
feel
thing.
that in the current content, that it changed the definition or the ability?
I think so, that, they feel like maybe you have an obligation to tamper with it.
Really?
No, no,
Okay,
I mean,
sarcasm,
it's,
sorry.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense, it's minor, you know, but I think it does make sense too,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that a common thing for a donor to tamper with or?
Well, I could definitely
Damage.
see somebody out there planting something near their bench or, you know, just doing something, you know, nearby and they're like, well, this is my bench, but not really because, and maybe that needs to be made clear, is that when someone donates something, it becomes city property.
Yeah, as Greg just said, that maybe that should be added rather than all the rest of that, so,
Right.
right?
Well, that's all in there, it's just rewording the sentence. The right to
What
temper.
Greg said it's in there?
No, but everything that I said was in there, it's just the
Right.
way that it's worded. But that makes sense, like, because it's city property, the person should not maintain.
Right, they might feel
Yeah.
emotional ownership of the bench that they
Right.
paid for, that the city
Right.
purchased and installed. They come in and go fix this up, because it's like it needs fixing, and then they don't fix it, you know,
Properly, and then someone falls, and then it's the city, and,
whatever.
yeah, totally, I get it. So anyway, I wanted to do my liaison duty and bring these suggestions to you.
Yeah, so can we just send that idea of
I'm just
Greg
gonna
to,
hand this right to Greg and Gary. And if the legislative committee approves of that, then we could just make the change and adopt it.
yeah, I would just ask that the city attorney review that, because I think you bring a good point, Greg, that it becomes city property, and that should be identified in there, that it's city property, so
Yeah, we can bring it back to the committee.
legislative, yeah,
Okay,
afterwards.
thank you.
So-
Cool, that's all I had. Thank you for hearing me out and allowing me to walk that onto the
So
agenda.
we'll add that onto the topics.
If you wanna skip that.
Thank you, thank you. Okay,
We'll add that to the topics for next month, so we can revisit it again.
that sounds great. Okay, so just to put a pin in the tobacco licensing thing, I'm gonna send a draft definition of a childcare facility or child-focused entity to Carrie and let her
Correct.
make magic. And then, Jennifer is going to send us, right, the GIS/map thing, or what's happening there?
Yeah, I think you already sent.
Oh, you
Well,
did?
This is a Excel sheet, so if,
Alright.
if you have capacity to then put them on the map.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have good news,
Yeah.
there are 52 licenses, but most places have a cigarette license and a vape license. So it looks like there are
Oh,
only a few more than 26 locations.
Great. So that's not a huge increase from the last time we looked, which is good.
Okay, so you think there's only 26?
Well, there's a couple that only have one or the other, so it's a few more than 26, but
Okay.
Less than 30?
probably, yeah.
Once we get a definition of childcare facility and school, we can also do a similar mapping with that and maybe overlay them so that we know what we're looking at. Okay. Well, thank you all for continuing the work on that. I appreciate it very much, and I'm happy to see it floating upward.
With nothing else added tonight,